I'm very happy to have this opportunity to talk to so many young Korean activists. And I'm very, very hopeful that your country is going to be a real leader in this movement for fundamental change. We all know that we now need to be thinking about really fundamental systemic change. I believe that our movement will grow very rapidly. I'm a great proponent of what I call localization. Localization is a way of reducing climate emissions by shortening the distances that goods travel, by reconnecting production and consumption across a shorter distance. When you do create more local markets, you actually pressure farmers and in forestry, in all the primary production for our basic needs. When you have shorter distances and smaller markets, the market encourages diversity on the land. And this is why the local food movement is providing a wonderful example of how we can solve multiple problems simultaneously. In the growing local food movement around the world, as people start shortening distances, the farmers are able to grow a range of different products on the land. And that means naturally producing things in the way that they are meant to be produced. They also build community, connection, not just between producers and consumers, but even among the consumers themselves. It's a pattern for rebuilding the local cohesion, the community connection that we evolved with. And there's a deep longing in people to reconnect in that way. And that's why these local initiatives are an example of what I call the economics of happiness. At that local level, these economies of happiness that are being created, there are many initiatives that also focus on community energy supplies, renewable energy. I'm sure many of you know of those. But the fundamental principle of a paradigm shift towards localizing instead of globalizing, that's a new paradigm that we need to put out there in what I call big picture activism. So again, the really important thing about the big picture is that what we need to do to solve the climate crisis is precisely what we need to do to create a society that human beings want to live in. A society that is more peaceful, that is not so stressful and competitive, a world where we are not 100% urbanized, but we have a balance between urban and rural. So part of the picture is that what we need to do to heal the climate is what we need to do to heal ourselves. And part of the picture is to be more informed about the number of initiatives around the world that are demonstrating the desire for this movement and the effectiveness of this movement. It's about local community economies and getting the word out. The big picture is informing people about these initiatives, showing how effectively they are creating both greater environmental harmony and social well-being. Part of the big picture is also being much clearer about what's wrong with the dominant economic policies. How can we possibly justify encouraging the import and export of the same product when we're worried about climate change? How can it be that in the climate negotiations, the emissions from the transport of these goods by air and by ship, those emissions are not even calculated? We must wake up to the bigger picture of what is actually the systemic cause of climate change. let's not fall into the trap of believing that this is somehow because this is what people want, that somehow human beings have all been made so greedy and selfish. Let's not fall into the trap of believing this is happening because of overpopulation. We are very lucky that the main reason we have such serious crises is because of the blindness to an economic system that has become so big that nobody's looking at it. The speed and the stress that the current economy is pushing on us is one of the biggest prices we're paying. Local community economies are also about slowing down, about human scale and human pace. And there are many people who are leaving their city job in front of the computer to go out to farm. There is an absolute trend around the world towards young people and others returning to farming and finding it enjoyable. So let's really support that trend towards more people doing things together, coming together in the community, and let's get the message out that there is a way of solving our crises. We may not do away with all the problems we will be having with climate, that we can massively reduce the causes, and in the process, join the economics of happiness and find ourselves leading richer, happier, more fulfilling lives. Thank you.